So my mother had me at 21. So from her birth to the age of 21, all that was not cultivated through her was transmuted into me. And with me saying this, I'm just saying any feelings of alienation, any feelings of hostility, any feelings of depression, any behaviors that were regressive or repressed or compulsive or addictive, any trauma that she has been through, if it was not able to be cultivated within her to the benefit of her, it now has been transmuted into me. So the trauma that exists in her exists within me, because if there is a problem that needs a solution, and a solution or a possible solution presents itself to that problem is going to go where the solution is, because it needs to be solved. So if it cannot be cultivated within you, it's going to branch off into the next available vessel that can do that work. So because I was given birth to by my mother, not only am I subjected to bear her burden, but my grandmother's burdens, her mother's burdens, and any other women within my lineage who did not cultivate their trauma, thus becoming our own trauma, exists within me. Because that trauma didn't just start from my mother. That trauma extends from my grandmother to her mother to her mother. Because they were unable to resolve their individual trauma, it exists now not only within my mother, but within me. So I bear all of their burdens. Although it has been able to extend throughout my lineage, it has changed its form due to the generational differences. It may not be self-affliction. Now it may be attachment. Although it has changed as the generation continues, it still exists, and it's still my burden to bear. And even if it's not my own burden to bear, because you have to think, without taking into account the inherited generational curse that I have my own burdens, because I am an individual. Like I said, those traumas didn't just start out from my mother. Those traumas started out from each individual woman that is a part of my heritage. So they've had their own individual burden that has allowed for that trauma to change its form, that has allowed that trauma to contort itself to match the individual. Because I'm an entity, I am going to face my own individual trauma. I'm going to face my own trials, my own tribulations that could allow that generational curse to fester and to expand and to seep into other generations, or I can cultivate it into something beneficial. But inevitably, the weight is going to be heavy as hell, because not only am I carrying their burden, I'm carrying my burden. If there's an energy that exists that is not utilized, understanding that energy is not created or destroyed, you understand that energy will simply be transmuted or transferred into the next available party, into the next available vessel that is willing to receive it. So say you wanted to paint the Mona Lisa. You wanted to paint it, you had the paint, you had the canvas, you had the picture in your head, but you just chose not to do it. Or you didn't know how to do it and you chose not to seek the resources. That idea, that Mona Lisa, will be given to someone else to be painted, to be marveled at. That's why you have those experiences where you're like, dang, I thought of that. Dang, I wanted to do that. Dang, that was my concept. And I didn't even know that person. I didn't even tell that person. You know why? Because that energy no longer exists within you. It went to somebody else who was going to utilize it, who was going to cultivate it. So, understanding the transference of energy, understanding epigenetics will definitely help you understand the small portion of generational curses. Because even when you look at it too, like being a part of the Generation Z era, being a part of the Generation X era, I don't know what they're called, millennials, just being a part of this generation, although we are aware of the traumas and the trials and the tribulations of generations prior to us, we still exist in a realm of a particular privilege of opportunity that has allowed us to be known as the lit and crazy generation. But if you look at the 90s, you see how they were the drug dealers and the superstars and like living like fast and crazy and still raising havoc. And then you look at the 80s and you see how they were living negligently, crack, addiction. There was so much that occurred during that time. The 70s, you know, the brothels, the streetwalkers. A lot of the generations were crazy. A lot of the generations were probably worse than what we feel we're going to experience with this generation, like given segregation, the systemic racism, the socio-economic disparity that we have faced, especially as minorities, especially as Black people within America, from society to our communities, experiencing self-hatred, experiencing misplaced hatred, experiencing colorism and other aspects of just generational curses and burdens, and just the lack of resolved issues. It only enhances our awareness, or at least my awareness, of generational curses. Every generation is different, but there's still this common theme of a problem that exists that still extends throughout every generation. Racism did not disappear. Segregation in some ways did not disappear. There's certain aspects of society, of our community, that still exists and may always exist, or may take hundreds and thousands of years just to disappear. But there's things about our society, about our community that exists, and it only exists because a trauma has been able to cultivate itself and mold itself to a new generation without really being resolved. I do want to talk about epigenetics and its relation to pregnancy. Epigenetics is basically the understanding that the egg exists within life itself to create life. The egg exists within a woman to create life, to create that beautiful baby boy, to create that beautiful baby girl. Basically, your child has felt and will feel everything you have felt or are feeling, especially during pregnancy and the stages before fertilization. Women have their eggs since birth. The egg is the vessel of life within itself. So once a sperm fertilizes an egg, the sperm basically becomes of the egg to create a child. So again, your baby has felt and will feel everything that you have felt or everything that you are feeling. That's why you often hear a lot of older women, a lot of women who have been pregnant before say you want to be happy. You want to be the most radiant representation of light when you are pregnant, because that child is in you, that child is of you, and that child has felt and will feel everything that you are feeling and everything that you have felt. So if you've had that egg within you since you were born, and you go through a lot of stuff, like think of yourself as a refrigerator. So you've gone through so much stuff in life. Sometimes the cooling system is working. Sometimes it's not. The light goes on, the light goes off. People open it, people shut it. Some people forget to close it. You know, you go through these experiences where you are constantly going through a string of emotions. So if you're going through these changes, and within you hold the food, you hold the eggs in particular, and you go through a period in your life where the cooling system doesn't work. The eggs go rotten. You know, of course, that's not what happens with the eggs within women, and I probably should have thought about this example a little bit better before I just spit it out. But, like, you get where I'm coming from. Like, women are like, I'm not going to say we're like refrigerators, but in this sense, we're the refrigerator. We hold the eggs. So if we're constantly being played with, if we're constantly being toyed with, if we're constantly experiencing different temperatures, having our doors open and shut, people not putting into us as much as we give, and you create these feelings and these experiences that you hold within yourself, and you still have that egg within you, that egg is going to feel, that egg is going to possess a lot of you, because it is of you. And everything that you experience, everything that you feel, that you allow that sperm to exist within, is going to grow inside of that egg and, cultivate into that child, into that baby, into that embryo, into that sperm. If that makes any sense. I hope it makes sense. So, yeah. So understanding epigenetics and how it relates to pregnancy, you just understand that we literally have to be careful with how we cultivate our energy, how we allow our energy to fester and take form. So what I'm saying is, even though these things are acquired, even though these things are something that we cannot necessarily get rid of, there's something that we can cultivate to be of benefit to us. It's not something that you can truly get rid of, because for me, at least from my perception, like, you're born with it. You're still going to fight with, self-affliction, if that's your generational curse. You're still going to struggle with the possibility of addiction. You're still going to struggle with depression. You're still going to struggle with certain aspects of your generational curse, because it exists within you. But you do not have to succumb to that curse. You do not have to allow that curse to write your story. You're the narrator. You're the author. You're the illustrator of this story called life. Time does not always change situations, change people. We change ourselves. We change our situations. Not saying that time cannot do that for us, but inevitably it's the choices and the decisions that we make to be the narrator, to be the author, to be the illustrator of our life, and to take control of the beast that tries to consume us, which is that generational curse, whether it be addiction, whether it be abuse, whether it be domestic instability, whether it be depression, whether it be self-affliction, whatever the case may be, whatever that generational curse may be, you have the power to change it to become something that works in your favor and in the favor of your generations to come. Although I may have difficulties per se with depression or addiction or compulsive behaviors, because that's something that exists within my lineage, I now exist in a time especially where the resources are available to me, where the knowledge is available to me, where the experience has been had both indirectly and directly to allow me to not succumb to the negativity of these experiences that have been experienced by not only me, by not only my mother, not only her mother, but by all of the women in my life. I can take that energy and utilize it to become something beneficial to me and to everyone that will come after me, if they do come after me. Because, honey, I don't know. I'm a little too young to think about that. I'm 20 years old. I don't know. But yeah, my brother is after me. Even if I don't have kids, my brother is after me, and I'm going to do my darnest to make sure that he does not have to experience the experiences that I've experienced, or to experience anything more traumatic than what he has experienced. If you take control of that curse, recognize that problem in your family, recognize it, no matter who calls you crazy, no matter who says you're being fake or dishonorable, no matter what anybody says, if you recognize that problem as a problem and you choose to resolve it, and your resolution goes against the fulfillment of that toxicity, the allowance of that toxicity, I don't know what the word is, I'm trying to find a better word, but if your solution counteracts the condolence of that problem, don't you dare stop on your pursuit of cultivating that negative energy, resolving that problem, so that you can live a life that is beneficial, so that you can live a life that is radiant, that is beautiful. There's still going to be trials and tribulations that you will encounter, but the burden doesn't have to be so goddamn heavy you know? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully everything I said made sense. So if you like this video, like it. If you want to comment down below and give me a little bit of your perspective on these generational curses that you may have experienced, definitely do that. I always enjoy coming on my channel and just sharing my perspective on heavy topics. But yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna be quiet. Thank you for watching my video. I appreciate you if you watched it in its entirety, and I'm gonna go.